Welcome to the TrueCore Crew podcast, where we discuss everything health and fitness, giving you the tools and tips to not only build, but live your best life, body, mind, and spirit. Thanks for joining us. Good afternoon, everyone listening. My name is Shannon Logan, and I am the owner of TrueCore in Annapolis, Maryland. We are a health and fitness facility that, yes, deals with workouts, but we also spend a lot of time and guidance on nutrition and then mindset co-coaching. We love to take a full body, mind, and spirit approach, rather. So if you don't know much about us, that's kind of our spiel in a nutshell. I am joined this afternoon, as I normally am, by my lovely client success manager, Miss Aline Wetzel. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm good. And you?
I am well. So we're recording this on August 26th, and in our state, kids go back to school on Monday. So, which is like 3 days out. And I know a lot of parents out there will be scrambling this weekend to get final school supplies and notebooks and back to school. And Monday morning, that alarm was going to go off and chaos will ensue trying to get the kids up and out the door and on the buses. So I thought we would talk about in the coming weeks what parents can do. And this can be applicable to non-parents as well. If you don't have kids, these are going to be all great recommendations, tools, ideas, hacks, some might call it, to help you have a little bit more of a centered, calm, productive, might even say enjoyable morning. Do I dare?
You just did. You said it.
And I'll let you know that I incorporate this in my own day-to-day life. And it does make things much smoother. So as a parent, you have, Aline, you have a 12-year-old.
13,
excuse me.
I'm just kidding.
You have a teenager in the house.
I have a teenager.
So what do you find as challenging situations as in the past when you kind of go back to school?
Well, she's not necessarily a morning person like I am.
Yeah.
Might be some teenage hormones raging there. But I have found that if we are good about getting her an ample amount of sleep, and if I wake her up, well, she actually sets her own alarm. She did last year, towards the end of the last year. So she actually gets up and lays in bed and wakes herself up pretty much before I come in and say, all right, let's get up and start doing all the things to get out the door. So the older they get, the more independent they get, which is extremely helpful. Something that I have had her do for years now is get her clothes together the night before.
Very smart.
Yeah. I mean, the more prepared we are for the morning, the smoother it seems to go. And to
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What about you being in a mindset, like she is older now, right? So she kind of gets herself dressed. She probably feeds herself pretty well. You probably don't have to make sure that happens too much. But what do you do to kind of brace for impact, right? So because she's older, it might be easier, like we just said, but when she was younger and you had to wake her up, get her dressed, feed her, get her backpack, get her out the door to the bus stop, make sure she got out on time. I could imagine that can cause a little bit of franticness.
Yeah.
Maybe some short-temperedness. And meanwhile, like you had a job, right? So you're probably trying to get yourself out the door while that's all happening.
Yep.
What I find is that most people, parents included, don't have time in the morning to just sit and have, if they drink coffee, and have that cup of coffee or allow them the time to wake up.
No, that's not usually a thing unless it's intentional.
Right. Exactly. Intentional being key word. I do not do well personally having an alarm go off and then having to get up, get dressed, eat something, and get out the door in like 30 minutes. that to me is pretty much like a health situation. Now that I am married and I have a child myself, like I treasure my alone time in the morning because very often that's kind of like all I get. But it also allows me to kind of wake up and prep myself to manage all the things, whether it be work or personal. But as we've talked about, it's that, oh man, crap, I got to get up earlier to find that time. Right. And on my personal page last week, I talked a little bit about if you can find an extra 15 to 30 minutes a day, what positive things could you do in that time? And at first it sounds really hard, like extra 30 minutes. I can't set my alarm. Hey, I get up at 6:30 right now and I'm dragging myself out of bed. Thought of getting up at 6 is like, you're cray, cray, girl. But if I set an alarm 5 minutes earlier, 3 days in a row, and then bump it up 10 minutes earlier, 3 days in a row, you get where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah, it gets easier. It gets easier. That's something I do with the mindset clients, is that when I implement a new habit, I don't expect someone to do it 7 days a week. Let's just take it easy. Try it for 2 or 3 days. So I love that thought process. 5-10 minutes extra every morning would probably be extremely helpful for a lot of folks.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm going to be selfish here and say at least 30 minutes. But if you were to ask me today, hey, you've been waking up at 6:30, I want you to wake up at 6 a.m. from here on out, the likelihood that I'm going to do that's going to be very slim.
Right, but 6:15 might be attainable a couple times a week. And if you see that 6:15, that extra 15 minutes a couple times a week is extremely helpful, you may be like, oh, okay, maybe I should do this every day. Then ease into the 6 a.m. if that's an option.
Yep, take it in baby chunks, right? So
absolutely.
5 minutes for 3 days, 5 more minutes, which equals 10 for 3 days, 5 more minutes, which equals 15 for 3 days. So by the time you get to an extra 30, it's been like a week and a half gradually taking that step. And then you might be able to sit with your cup of coffee, maybe do some breath work. It doesn't have to be complicated breath work. Maybe you just become aware of your breathing as you drink your cup of coffee, or you hear the banshee cries that come from the children, which is now my 18-month-old. It's her favorite noise to make when she screams. It's like a banshee.
Oh, I don't miss that. 13-year-olds don't. I mean, they scream, but not like
that. On the flip side of that coin, if you're going to be getting up 30 minutes earlier, I would recommend you going to bed 30 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. You shouldn't deprive yourself of the sleep just to get an extra few minutes in the morning. You should definitely get your as much sleep as possible, because that also helps make the day go by, the morning go by better overall.
So as a mom, we put my daughter dad down for bed, and then it's kind of like I pass out for 20 minutes to kind of get our bearings of like the day is kind of ended. And then it's some interaction between my husband and I. But I don't want to cut that interaction too short, because that's only the like alone time that we get to talk about logistics of our life, but also, how are you? How was your day, honey? What happened that we can actually discuss without the banshees screaming in our ears? So I also want to be careful when I suggest people cutting their evenings shorter, because I understand that might be, on the flip side, the only time that you get alone, or it might be the only time you and your spouse have. But again, if you take it in snidbits, 5 minutes, I like to do a nightly alarm as well. So I do a morning, but then I do a reminder / alarm at night to put my phone down and to start working my way upstairs. Because that gets me in the routine of when I get upstairs, brush my teeth, wash my face, put my PJs on. And then I like to read for a little bit before I go to sleep. And that gets me off all screens that we've talked about quite a bit before I get into bed, so that blue light is not interfering with my rest. But the same way I talked about setting an alarm in the morning in 5-minute increments, do the same thing at night. Start with 5 minutes. If you typically go to bed at 10, start to do an alarm at 5 to walk your butt upstairs. Do that for a couple of days. What I've also found is my spouse is kind of picking up on it with me. So typically he would have like stayed down. We both would have stayed downstairs and watched Netflix for another hour. I'll be straight. I'm not perfect. That's we live in 2022 right now.
Yes.
But as I've started to make it a priority to kind of move my evening schedule up a little bit, guess who's coming up behind me a few minutes later?
Sleep is good. It really is. It's amazing.
He's one of my best friends. I love me some sleep. So we've talked about sleep from a scheduling standpoint. So we know that's a big struggle for everyone. And by the way, you can incorporate the same skills with your kids because it's going to be hard for them to make that transition from summer schedule. There were really a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people don't have as structured routines. Night or morning.
Mine did not have a structure.
So like, hey, honey, you got to be in bed by 8 because you got to get up at 6 for high school tomorrow. It was a different story.
Well, that's aggressive. 8 a.m., girl.
8 p.m.
I mean, 8 p.m.
Well, that's just because I'm thinking of infant or time frames.
Addison would probably cuss me out if I tried to put her to bed at 8 p.m. No, she wouldn't do that. But 8 p.m.
I was gonna say we need to have a different story if that's what, or a different conversation if that's what's happening.
8 p.m. 13-year-olds probably look at me like I had 10 heads. Like, what are you talking about? But I get it. Yes, absolutely. I was trying to implement that this weekend. She went to her dad's. Her schedule's going to be a little off. So I have a feeling that Monday might be a little rough in the morning. But we try to get a good hour to bed. Won't be 8 p.m. I can't assure that. But yes, getting to bed earlier.
I'm not saying she should have been in bed. I just had what happened? I think what happened is I thought about my ideal bedtime and I would love to be
Yeah, I could see that. That would be an amazing time to go to bed.
Like 30 minutes after my daughter's in bed, I got back, had my chocolate dessert, and now I can climb in my cozy bed and just
go to sleep.
That would be ideal.
That would.
That never happens, but that would be ideal. So we talked about the sleep stuff. What else? Because I know with our mentorship clients, we talk a lot about routines and schedules and helping them find easy ways to implement self-care nightly and morning so their day ends well. Again, not in like a burnout situation. And then the following day starts smoothly without that chaos of running out the door. So besides, once you make this extra time, hopefully an extra 15 to 30 minutes, what would you recommend people kind of fill it with? Because I don't want people making time so they can pick up their phones with their coffee and scroll through social media. That's not a good way to wake up the day. Stay off your phones after you get your kids up. Like, take some time to sit and check in with yourself. But what suggestions, routines, habits have you used with our mentorship clients where we kind of...
Something I highly recommend, and I tell people, if you fail to plan to fail. So as far as like lunches and stuff are concerned, meal prepping is a great idea. Having that ready to go takes that guesswork out of the morning routine. Addison does not like the school lunches for whatever reason. So I make sure that I have pretty much all of the components for her lunch together that I could just throw in the lunchbox, or she could throw it in the lunchbox before we walk out the door. That can go for adults too. If you know what you're going to take for lunch in the morning, have that readily available to run out the door with it. If you prep for the week, like on Sunday, oh my gosh, that makes things a lot easier too. Yeah. And also knowing what you have available for breakfast. So it's not a big chaotic situation trying to figure out what you're going to eat before you walk out the door. So having an idea what you're going to have for breakfast, knowing what you guys are going to take for lunch the night before makes the morning routine so much easier.
For sure. And we talk about this when we onboard a new client, that it doesn't have to be super timely or complicated. Like,
no, absolutely not.
For me, One of the best routines I've gotten into is the day before, just in my head. All right, for breakfast, I'm going to have this. For lunch, I'm going to go with that. For dinner, we're going to do this. And then I have my chocolate dessert at night.
Gotta have the chocolate dessert. Absolutely.
My husband, John, like makes fun of me every night. He goes, so you're going to have right now I'm in a chocolate granola phase.
Okay.
When I was pregnant, it was a chocolate cereal phase, but there's an underlying theme of chocolate. It's just,
and that's okay.
Survival, man. Survival. My point is that if I go through my head like that, that takes me less than 30 seconds. There's something about making that decision beforehand and being aware that it's already completed, that when I go to get those things from the fridge, I'm not standing in front of the fridge with my daughter Banshee screaming in the background and being like, what the heck am I going to eat?
Right. Ahead of time. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. And that is super simple. When I look at my schedule the next day before I close out my work day, which we'll talk about in a second, I go, all right, lunch tomorrow is going to be leftovers from the night before because I try to cook extra for that exact reason. Breakfast, out of yogurt. So maybe I'll do some Reese's in a bowl, which is chocolate, protein powder, oatmeal, and a little almond butter. You can throw peanut butter in there if you want. And I just go through that checklist. And tomorrow night, our dinner is we plan to do grilled fish with some roasted veggies with balsamic. All right, easy, right? But therefore, it's already decided, and I'm not driving home at 5:30 being like, shit, what am I going to make for dinner? Excuse my French out there.
That makes you human, what you just said. You are just like the rest of us.
I haven't ascended yet. Darn it. Still on planet Earth, this side of glory. But then for me, I'm a small business owner. And as an entrepreneur, work, like a lot of people, takes up a lot of real estate in my head. And sometimes it's hard for me to switch off. I don't know if I ever fully switch off, but it's hard for me to stop thinking about work when it's time to focus on family or friends. And so one of the things that I would recommend people, if you guys out there struggle with this, write down, like I have my to-do list right beside me right here. Okay, this sits by my computer and it's all the stuff I need to get done. As I close out my day for work, I write down for tomorrow the top 4 things that have to happen. Okay. And those are the 4 things I focus on first when I start my work day. But as a result of, it's almost like a brain dump, so that I write out like what needs to occur tomorrow. It's almost like it closes that cycle of brain's problem solving. It's like, oh, I have a
tab on your computer.
Yeah.
You save it for your Asana task tomorrow.
Right.
It's cleared off for today. All right. I know that it's written down. I'm not going to forget to do it, but I can at least let it go for tonight.
Right. And that can be for family too. If you are a parent, you are juggling a lot of things. If you are a mom, I like to say mom stands for master of multitasking.
Yes, that's amazing. That's accurate.
I think I like some kind of a superpower got injected into me when my daughter was born. And now I multitask. I've become a Sherpa, right? I carry the child, often with the car seat, with 5 bags of groceries, the diaper bag, and an iced coffee in my hand.
What about Bella?
Bella follows me. Bella's my dog, in case you guys don't know. 20-pound puggle.
Yeah.
With my firstborn. So she still was with mom all the time. But at night, sometimes I'll have like this to-do list for our family of what I have to text this person. I have to get this groceries. We got to schedule a doctor's appointment, whatever it might be. I do the exact same thing. I write it on our family to-do list on the fridge about the top 4 things that have to get done tomorrow as a collective unit or for our household. And therefore I can kind of dump it and rest for the remainder of the evening. I don't know. Hopefully these are helpful to some people.
Oh, it's helpful for me to write notes for what I need to do tomorrow. So I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm not a business owner, but there are things when I think, oh my goodness, I forgot I need to tell that person this, and it is way too late, not too late, like 9:00. I will text them first thing in the morning. I want to make sure I follow up with that client and so forth. So absolutely. I don't necessarily have a place for notes, but I have Post-it notes.
I was going to say, I see a lot of Post-it notes around your workstation.
I don't like to forget things. Yes. And they're usually on my computer, on my laptop. Yes, I write notes. I should probably invest in one of those little books though.
I'm a little OCD, so I like to follow my little
Nice.
And then, it feels really good to cross things off.
Well, that's what I feel about the Post-it notes. Once I've known I've completed, and I utilize them more than once, and I'll just write one little word on it and throw it away. But I like being able to, this is completed. Let me get rid of that little Post-it note.
You like crinkle it up like.
No, I just fold it up neatly and place it in the recycling bin.
I would crinkle, be like, and throw it in the trash. That should be our highlight from this week's call. But
yes, absolutely.
Well, as we wrap up, hopefully some of that stuff helps. So as you guys get back into a fall routine, September is kind of like the start of a new year. We find in the gym industry that January and September are big times because as school starts, everyone's back from vacation. Mm-hmm. Those summer relaxation hours, maybe a couple extra drinks, maybe a couple extra meals out, and people are trying to kind of rein it back in. And so try some of these things. See if you can find some extra peace time for yourself in the morning. Mm-hmm. Bump it. Try to get up earlier, a couple minutes at a time, over time. See how much you can gain. Fill that time with rejuvenating things, maybe a cup of coffee outside with birds, journaling. If you do prayer or meditation or something to slowly start your day so you have some time to wake up and get situated before the amount of input in our society comes flaring at you.
A gratitude list is also something that will put things in perspective and hopefully put you in the right mindset for your day.
That's a fantastic start with it. Absolutely. Do a little checklist in your head about what you might want to eat through the day, what the plan is. Mm-hmm. Have your kids maybe lay out their clothes the night before, and just take it piece by piece and implement it in bite-sized nuggets. Because again, if you try to go from black to white, it's going to most likely feel overwhelming, and the majority of us tend to shut down with that being said. So. Mm-hmm. Anything to add before we close out today, Aline?
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff. I've been the whole laying the clothes out the night before. I've been doing that since Addie was in elementary school. Gosh, that saves so much time. If you know what that kid's going to wear the night before, it saves a lot of arguing and time. So definitely, if you don't do that, even for yourself, I've done that. Mm-hmm. My schedule is a little different now that I work at the gym. But when I worked a regular 9 to 5, knowing what I was wearing the next day, that's just as a time saver. It really is.
And sometimes we're not as clear-headed first thing in the morning.
No, absolutely not. Not everybody jumps out of the bed like I do. Right. Ready to start the day. I know the other two that live in my house do not wake up like I do.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Billy's like, don't talk to me for 45 minutes when I wake up. Meanwhile, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Sorry.
I'm like, don't talk to me until I've had a cup of coffee. I love you. I want to keep loving you. Right. Give me a space to wake up, and then I will be more than happy to converse.
But, that's so funny.
Well, thank you everyone who tuned in and listened. If you need to find me, Shannon Logan on Facebook, Shannon at truecorecoaching.com. Aline?
Aline Wetzel on Facebook and Aline at truecorecoaching.com. If you want to email me,
go for it. We would love to help with any routine ideas, any health and fitness ideas, any just day-to-day life hacks. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great one.
Have a great day.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Interested in learning more? Join our free Facebook group, Annapolis Health, Fitness, Nutrition, and Mindset, where we give out resources every week and even have live trainings on helping you live your best life. Hope to see you there.